welcome to this episode of Junk Food on the Road. Today we are going to talk about...
It's a special episode. We're talking COVID.
COVID. It's not really like junk food, but it's more like whatever food you can find.
It's scavenging on junk food on the road.
But I mean, during traveling, obviously, you know, once you've done the traveling part of traveling, there's grocery stores and restaurants. But this is really about what to expect if you're actually in a position where you have to travel. Like,
yeah, this is sort of
get from point A to point B.
I mean, we might talk a little bit about what we're experiencing here now. And so went through a sort of interesting situation because if you listen to our last episode of Junk Food on the Road, we were in Laos, and that happened just as COVID started. And then we were living in Cambodia at the time, so we flew from Laos. After we went to Laos, we flew to Cambodia on basically an empty airplane. I think there was like 2 or 3 other people on the flight.
Yeah.
Then we stayed in Cambodia for a few months, and then we had to come home. And we flew from Cambodia back to Canada. And so we'll talk a bit about that experience as well as sort of coming back to Canada during COVID and the things we experienced maybe a little bit. So, I mean, the first thing, obviously, flying a lot of empty planes and a lot of sort of different situations on planes. In Southeast Asia, there was a bit of a different way that they dealt with COVID. There was masks sort of in most places, but not heavily enforced. Like when we're talking grocery stores and everything like that.
Oh, like actually living there, yeah.
Yeah, living there and everything. So, but you know, notionally, according to the numbers, the cases were low. So,
yeah.
But you know, it was still, you know, we tried to keep our distance and everything like that as best we could. But you know, it was difficult.
You have to get your temperature taken to go into most stores.
Yep. Restaurants too.
And restaurants and hotels.
Yep. Yeah. So, but I mean, and we went to a restaurant. We went to one just before we left, and literally we were the only people in the restaurant.
Yeah, I went to one for lunch, for a work lunch, about maybe 3.5 weeks before we left, and it was full. Mm. And they weren't socially distancing in that restaurant. Like, yeah. I was shoulder to shoulder with my counterparts.
The one we went to was in a hotel. It was empty, and the hotel seemed pretty much empty.
Oh yes, we were the only ones in that restaurant.
Yeah.
It was in like one of the sort of nicer hotels, and
there wasn't many people in the hotel either. Like, you didn't see people. There was a bar where there was a few people hanging out, but I got the sense that the hotel was kind of empty. Yeah. But that was like COVID was full force, and there was very limited traveling. So
yeah, and people weren't going to Cambodia.
Yeah, people weren't really going there. But I mean, we left Cambodia, and you know, said goodbye to all our friends, and you know, it was all sad, and unfortunately we couldn't.
I mean, there were a lot of people that we couldn't see before we left, which was really hard.
Yeah.
You know, and things that we wanted to do that we couldn't get done. But I think we ate everything we wanted to eat.
Yeah. I ate a tarantula. I ate crickets. I ate all kinds of fun stuff like that. So you know, we definitely. I'm glad we had a great experience there. Left a little sad, but not. One of the last meals I had with a friend of mine. We stayed socially distanced, but we had pizza. It was fantastic.
It's a Southeast Asian chain. I don't know if it's Singaporean or Thai or what.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a pizza company you guys went to.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
It's great. But then when flying back, we flew through Korea, and then we went to Vancouver, and then Vancouver, we're back in Ottawa now. But we flew to Korea. It's a fairly busy flight. In Korea,
yes, surprisingly busy.
At the Cambodian airport, almost nothing was open except for the gift shop.
Yeah, the Starbucks was closed.
Yeah, everything was closed.
The Dairy Queen was closed.
Was the Dairy Queen? No,
the Burger King was open.
I thought the Dairy Queen was open and the Burger King was closed.
Oh, maybe I got that backwards.
Yeah, and then but all the other restaurants closed. A lot of it was closed, which is we expected that, and we were okay with that. And you know, so the one thing if you have to travel now, which I'm hoping you don't, on a plane, because really just don't, just stay home.
Yeah, we had to, so.
Yeah, I mean, we had to get home. It was, but yeah, if you have to fly, pack food.
I mean, we got food on every flight, but the bigger challenge was finding food in the airports.
Yes,
for transfers.
And I've heard rumors now of some airlines nixing food.
Oh, wow.
So just bring food. Make sure you have food, and you won't be able to choose food. If you choose like a vegetarian menu, you're not going to get it.
No, they're just going to give you whatever they've got.
You get a box of food, and that's it. I mean, it was fine. It was sort of what you get on a flight, but there's no drink service. You get a bottle of water, and that's what you get. You can sometimes get other bottles of water, but there's no soda, there's no alcohol. So you're really, on flights and in airports, and then sort of get to this.
It depends a little bit on the airplanes. Like we got a hot meal on the Phnom Penh to Seoul flight.
Yeah, but that could change. I can imagine that changing on a dime.
For sure. I mean, Korea's numbers are going up now too.
So the best thing I would say is prepare yourself for nothing.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to be flying, and the other thing too is, it obviously it's going to take you longer. It took us basically 2 days to get from Phnom Penh to Ottawa. So, you pack a few sandwiches, because, as I was saying, there was nothing open in the Cambodian airport. And then in the Korean airport, there was a couple of fast food places. There was a Lateria burger place that was open. But I would say that a very good percentage of the restaurants were closed. Very minimal food offered. And I could easily see it in smaller airports, you got nothing. Because I remember when we went to Laos, there was nothing open.
No, yeah.
There was zero open. There was nothing open. There was, I think, a place selling chips and stuff, and that was about it. So, really, if you are flying, be prepared to just, you might get nothing. You might bring, water's hard to do if you can. You might get water on flights, I think. I can't imagine the long haul flights just not even giving you water. But, be prepared for no food. And in airports, it's not much better.
Or not much choice.
Yeah, same with in Vancouver. There was a lot of places closed too.
We couldn't get anything in Vancouver. Well, we didn't have time.
Yeah.
We had a 3-hour layover, and it took that entire time. And we were, there was 5% of the usual air traffic, and literally it took us 3 hours to go through customs, get our luggage, and then go to the new place to put your luggage, because you couldn't just transfer your luggage like normal. And then the security line was huge.
Insane.
And it took us 3 hours. We almost missed our connecting flight.
And we didn't, normally our tradition is the first Canadian airport we landed, we get Tim Hortons. We didn't have time, and there was several closed.
And then we went straight into quarantine. And so we didn't have Tim Hortons for 2.5 weeks.
And, we were in Canada for 2.5 weeks, and we didn't have Tim Hortons. Because when we landed in Ottawa, everything was closed.
Yeah.
It was kind of late, but still everything was closed. Normally there's a Tim Hortons at the front.
And the law was, and I don't know where people are, but for us, the law was you make sure that you know how you're going to get to the place where you're going to quarantine. So we had called a few taxi companies and found out that yes, taxis were available. There's a big plexiglass sheet between the driver and the back seat. So you get in the taxi. You tap your credit card. The credit card machine's now in the back for you to do that, which is kind of nice. And you go straight to your quarantine place, and you don't leave it for 2 weeks.
Fortunately, we managed to order Swiss Chalet and got it delivered.
Yes, we did.
We did it responsibly.
Uber Eats, thank you.
Yes, Uber Eats. Not a sponsor, but happy to drop them for that because they got a Swiss Chalet. We stayed in. The other thing to think about if you're in a quarantine in a situation where you have to quarantine, food delivery. So we actually had an Airbnb that had its own entrance, and that we could drop stuff off, and the driver could just drop it off. And same with groceries, because we were there for 2 weeks. Groceries, they could drop them off and would have zero contact with us at all. Yeah. And our groceries were sort of safe. There was an inside door they could go to.
We had to go through a lot of talking to Airbnb hosts just to find out, to find a place that had its own separate entrance.
And a kitchen that was functional.
Yeah. And maybe some place to get fresh air. We had this little sort of rooftop
balcony thing.
Balcony area. Stone rooftop.
It's something to think about when you're traveling. If you're thinking a hotel, you're going to be locked in that room. And a lot of the hotels we're seeing now, in this area and around, they're completely closed as far as the gyms are closed, the pools are closed.
The restaurants are limited or closed.
So it's
included breakfasts are being canceled.
So you really have to fend for yourself. So if you're in quarantine, you're going to have a lot of trouble in a hotel. So it's challenging now. So again, stay home if you can.
Yeah. We picked Airbnb just because we knew that hotel would be really difficult.
Yeah. We had friends that had taken hotels and were just stuck in a room.
Yeah.
And so what do you do? It's tough. So yeah, and then we came back to Canada, And it's definitely different here. It's a different situation here. It's kind
You
of.
have to get used to it all over again.
I heard sad news that our favorite bulk food place is no longer going to be carrying seasonal treats because of COVID.
Chris is very traumatized by this news.
I mean, it's gonna. Right now, we're doing this right before Halloween, but and you probably won't be hearing this till after Halloween. Probably.
I don't know. It's not even. It's 6 weeks away from Halloween.
Yeah, but this goes up later.
I know.
But there might be no Christmas stuff too. Like it sounds like a lot of places, and there's a lot of problems with, like, again, Halloween stuff and treats and stuff. Like, a lot of companies are sort of limiting. I'm starting to see sort of treats in North America coming out, but it's sort of a new ballgame because there's a different way of sort of using these things. Like, again, Halloween, you're used to giving it away for trick or treaters, but now they're thinking about how they can create treats that are, that parents can buy their kids, as well as Christmas is going to be like, what are we going to see as far as treats and as far as like junk food. We've been to a couple fast food restaurants and some are barely open inside. And most of them are sort of preferring you stay outside. So I mean, we don't mind that because getting food to go is completely fine. But it's a thought. So it's think about that when you're going out, and again, try not to go out.
But I mean, we're talking about traveling. Like, I think most people are probably more used to the COVID situation in North America than we are right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just sort of saying it's a weird thing for us.
It's really weird for us.
It's very, very strange for us because, in Cambodia, restaurants were open.
And we're only scheduled to be in Canada for a year. So we have all of these friends and family that we really, really want to see, but there's like it's just weird trying to make these kinds of plans in a socially distanced way.
Yeah. Like, one of the problems we have is we're in Ottawa and we have a lot of friends and family outside of Ottawa and other cities like Toronto and everything like that. And it's like we keep looking at ways to travel to outside of Ottawa, and it just, every time we do it, we just get stressed out. Just get totally stressed out about it. And the food's a big part of it. Like, we're sitting there going, like, how do we get food?
Yeah.
It's like, and it's getting to be later in the season. By the time you're listening to this, it's going to be dead fall. Like, how do you get food? Like, you can't eat outside anymore. Restaurants, it's hard to, eating inside. Is that a thing? You gotta, and whether you can do it or not. So then when you're traveling, what do you do?
Yeah.
And I've heard stories of like gas stations, like truck stops now are closing their bathrooms.
Yeah.
Or limiting them to just like truck drivers.
So if you're going on a 6-hour drive, you got to hold it in.
Yeah. And then hold it into what?
And then it's like, and then you need to get gas, and there's nowhere to wash your hands.
Yeah.
Because the bathrooms are closed.
Yeah.
So I mean, hand sanitizer is great, but it doesn't do the whole job.
Yeah. And that's something that, hundreds of people have been touching. So it's like, it's tricky out there. So I mean, we're sort of looking at we're definitely in Canada for this year. And so, we're sort of looking at how we can travel around, and, it's obviously going to be limited, but we're hoping to maybe just enjoy Ontario and the area we're in for a bit. Sure. And day trips out, things like that. But, responsibly and, more just enjoying nature. And everything like that. Going to enjoy the cold. We didn't have that in Cambodia for a while, so maybe enjoy a bit of that while we're here in Canada. And we're going to buy snowshoes because I think we're crazy.
We might buy snowshoes.
Yeah, but it's been tough. But it's been interesting because the time we have spent here so far, we've definitely seen a lot of stuff that's made us happy, like nature.
And, Tim Hortons pumpkin spice tea is out.
It'll be probably finished by the time you get there. And probably there won't be any left because Allison and I bought it all up.
Yeah, we have.
We've decided to...
We need multi-year supplies.
Yes, just in case we aren't here next year, we want to make sure we have some wherever we are, because Tim Hortons pumpkin spice tea is probably one of the best pumpkin spice things out there.
Yeah.
Having said that, their donuts and their muffins are also very good.
Yes, but their pumpkin spice tea is and even if you have a pumpkin spice muffin or a pumpkin spice Timbit, it's sort of like, this is an interesting flavor of a muffin or a Timbit. But the pumpkin spice tea is so awesome.
Yeah. But I think that's...
I think we're rambling at this point.
Yeah, at this point we're rambling. Okay, well...
We're not talking about traveling in COVID anymore. We're talking about, are we going to see our family this year?
Yeah. But, well, thanks for listening to another episode of Junk Food on the Road, our special COVID edition.
Thanks for making it this far if you're still listening.
As always, you can follow us on Twitter at CandyCritic, or go to candycritic.org and find links to all of our other social media, including Facebook, Tumblr, and whatever we might be following at that particular time. You can also go to our Patreon page, patreon.com/candycritic, and there you can find links, or you can join up and you can get extra content and all kinds of stuff like that, including we have a mini comic that we're putting out right now called Snack Facts. Depending on the tier you're on, you can get you'll be entitled to a subscription to our comic book, or you can even get issues sent to you, which is kind of cool. And I'll sign those issues if you want, or if you specifically don't want, just send me a message and I won't sign them. You can also go to candycritic.org/snack facts, and you can check out more about the microcomic there, including download issue 0 for free. So be sure to check that out. But thanks for listening to another episode, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.